Welcome. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and the purpose of this video is to give new players to Dominions 4 Thrones of Ascension, or those interested in the game, links and information that'll be helpful to get started with the game and learn to play better. Now first, I want to start with my own site, Marcus Aurelius LP, here on youtube.com, where I have a number of playlists with Dominions 4 videos. I want to particularly focus on my EA Let's Play because it was intended as a tutorial for new players, and I spend a lot of time going over different aspects and mechanics of the game. It's, I believe, pretty thorough and yet concise, so I believe it's a helpful tutorial for anyone interested in learning more about the game. I've also done a number of other playlists with videos of different nations, but these are more for entertainment purposes and not so much as a tutorial, although I do touch on different aspects of the game. Like, for example, in my recent Ulm playthrough, which is still ongoing, I am exploring blood magic and that aspect of the game. However, the first place you probably want to go is the official Dominions 4 Thrones of Ascension Desura forums. Now, these forums are the official forums for the game. The developers hang out here and post, and you can see there's sub-forums, like for example for multiplayer, modding, maps, and strategy. These are probably the most populated and lively forums for the game right now on the net, and I will have links to all of these forums down below in the description. Another forum that's been around for a long time, since back in the Dominions 3 times, is the it used to be a Dominions 3 mods forum, but now it's the Dominions 4 mods forum. This forum is where a lot of advanced players of the game hang out, a lot of old-timers, people who are big in the multiplayer community. This forum, I've found, has a lot more mod content for right now than the Desura forums. This might not always be the case, but for right now it's a good place to go to find mods and a different take on the game from a more small community of experienced players. I think that's the best way to sum up this forum, and I find it to be very helpful. Then there's the official Illwinter Dominions 4 page. This page, you're not going to be going to a lot, but what makes this good is, well, you can buy the game from here, but also there's the manual. Now, because Dominions is such a complex and in-depth game, the manual is absolutely a must. So if you have the game, definitely download all the different manual parts, especially the spell and item reference manual. And if you're just curious about the game and you want to know if it's right for you, I'd also suggest taking a look at these, and you might find them very helpful. Another cool tool that I like a lot is the Dom4 Mod Inspector. Now what this site does is it allows you to look at every item, spell, or unit in the game and find information about them. Basically anything that you would need to interact with while utilizing these units in the game itself. It's very customizable. You could restrict it to a specific nation, a specific age. You can go with only national troops, only generic troops. So for a resource as to what's in the game and the different pieces of the puzzle, this is definitely a fun tool to utilize. Now, I might be argued on this, but I like also to get information regarding the game Dominions 3, which came before Dominions 4. I feel the games are very similar. About 70 to 80% of this material that was written for Dominions 3 is still applicable for Dominions 4. That being said, the Dominions 3 strategy wiki I find very helpful. It has a lot of information about the game and its mechanics, and also on certain nations it has a ton of information on the heroes, the troops, strategies you could utilize, what types of paths you should put on your pretender. So before I play a nation, I always like to come and scan this just to see what they have to say. Again, it might not all be relevant with some changes that were made with Dominions 4, but I still find that it's helpful, at least as a way to figure out how to get started or places to expand your mind on techniques for certain nations. Along the same vein, we have the old Shrapnel forums for Dominions 3, which Dominions 3 no longer is sold exclusively from Shrapnel, so I can't say how long this forum is going to be around. It might shut down tomorrow, but it does have a lot of good information regarding strategy, that way more than what Desura has right now. And again, while a lot of this information may no longer be applicable to Dominions 4, a lot of it is. So if you're interested in a particular nation, it wouldn't hurt to come here and look at these different guides. Another cool thing about this particular forum is that there's a lot of old multiplayer content of games that happened, and a lot of after-action reports. So if you're interested in looking at the multiplayer games that were hosted in the past and maybe some of the players' impressions on them, this is a good place to look. Finally, Dominions 4 does have a number of YouTube videos besides my own. One gentleman by the name of Tokshin has he has a Dominions 4 multiplayer Let's Play. He has a tutorial series. He has a pretty long series on Atlantis, which is one of the underwater nations of the game, and he's currently working on a mod nation, Altdorf, from the Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and he also has enemies in that game from Chaos and the Lizardmen and the Dwarves. So if you're interested in the modding potential of the game, this is a good place to look. Tokshin's a really entertaining guy. There's also DOS24680, who he also has played a few different versions of Dominions. He has a tutorial, a beta, and he has the multiplayer Dominions 4, which is a very interesting game that was played with a number of guys, including Tokshin. And if you scroll down even further, I believe he has some videos on Dominions 3 as well. Finally, I want to bring attention to Donald Allen, also known as Mayorland. He is very widely regarded as a veteran player of the game. He's been a part of the community for a long time. You'll see posts by him on the forums. He is pretty much an expert of the game, and so his videos, while he doesn't update very frequently, his videos are very insightful, and if you're interested in watching the game from the perspective of an expert in the planning that they do, I'd highly recommend this. One thing I'd really recommend is his playlist from Dominions 3, The Spectacle of Perspicuity. This was a multiplayer game, and he talks about he basically goes over each turn as it happened and goes over his moves and why he did them, and he also critiques and looks at the moves of the other players. It's a multiplayer game, so I highly recommend you take a look at this as well. Now, if you have any questions about the game, by all means, you can comment on this video, you can send me a PM, or you can even email me at marcusaureliuslp@gmail.com. Now, I am not in any way affiliated with Illwinter, the developers of this game. I'm just a fan, and I like, have my videos on here, so I just want to make that clear. I'm just doing this on my own, but I'm more than happy to help new players if you have any questions, so please shoot me a comment, PM, or an email. All right, have a good one.